this was a season that was all split between two different quarterbacks, really, and you could see it coming. It just felt like it was always going to be either very difficult or very easy when Deshaun Watson came back into the side. But Rich, it just wasn't very easy at all, was it?
No, I mean, I hold my hands up. I was someone that was saying this offense is going to take a step forward. This offense is going to be different with Deshaun Watson under center. And let's be honest, it took a massive step back. I mean, Deshaun Watson last year or this season just gone, he was negative 0.09 EPA per drop back. The only quarterbacks that played a decent amount that were worse, Carson Wentz, Zach Wilson, Joe Flacco, Baker Mayfield, Davis Mills. Not exactly household names that you're hoping to be in the same category as Deshaun Watson. It was horrific. Let's hope that from a fantasy perspective, he's burned off the rust and hopefully he's going to come back better next year.
Yeah, just to highlight that, in Football Outsiders DVOA, with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback, they were the fourth best offense. When Deshaun Watson took over the rest of the season, they were the 19th best offense. So everything just seemed to go wrong. Like, it even brought Nick Chubb's fantasy value, like, crashed right down over those last few weeks. But, I mean, Nick Chubb had a great year by all accounts.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, he flew out the gates, had that amazing hot start. Seemed to kind of falter, as you said, when Deshaun Watson was back. I think the trouble with Chubb is that it feels like if he's not having massive, 100-yard rushing games, if he's not getting into the end zone, the target share is just never there. He's the kind of guy that always makes you feel like there's some more meat left on the bone. He's an incredible talent, an incredible running back. But from a fantasy perspective, he just never quite kind of quenches that thirst.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, he did have 10 games with 90 or more rushing yards. He set a career high in touches and yards. So it was a really impressive season. But I think one thing that could impact his fantasy value next year is the possibility of Kareem Hunt departing. I mean, he is out of contract this offseason, right?
Yes, absolutely. He's gone. So's Dearness Johnson as well, is also a free agent.
And looking at the other guys who kind of contract situations are a bit up in the air, Donovan Peoples-Jones had a fantastic season, over 10 PPR points per game. He's a free agent in 2024, but I wouldn't be surprised if they wanted to sign him this year. Amari Cooper, though, he's got no guaranteed money remaining on his contract, and quite often we see wide receivers start to get a little bit twisty when they don't have any guarantees left. Do you think that's something which will crop up this season?
I don't think so, because I think that the way his contract is structured is because he was traded. So the Cowboys ate all the guarantees, all the signing bonus, and he's now basically on a $25 million 1 year rolling contract. So I think he knew what they were getting into, and the Browns knew what they were getting into. I think he's getting paid fair for what his talents are. So I think there's almost like a mutual understanding of, this is your contract. You're going to play out of it, and then when it runs out, or we can get rid of you. I don't think he's going to kick up and expect more money, because let's be honest, when you're paying your quarterback 50 plus million, you've not got much else money to throw around at weapons.
How do you feel about Amari Cooper's dynasty value right now? Because he's coming off a season where he almost broke career highs in receiving yards. He had like almost 1,200 receiving yards, 9 touchdowns. He had 7 games with 15 plus PPR points. So he's had a sneakily good season, but it hasn't really picked up a huge amount of buzz.
No, I really liked Amari Cooper. He was someone I was telling everybody to go out and buy at the middle point of the season, because he was having an underrated great year. He was averaging 16.1 fantasy points a game with Jacoby Brissett, and I thought Watson coming back was going to be a great thing. Turns out it wasn't. He only averaged 12.5 points with Deshaun Watson down the stretch. I think that now they've got an off-season together, I think that Amari Cooper, he's not a sexy name. You know, he's not one of these sophomore wide receivers that we can get all hyped about, all excited about in Dynasty. But I do think as a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 that you can just plug in your lineup and know you're going to get reliable production, I'm happy to pay a mid to late first for someone like that at the moment.
Okay, and just picking up on just what you were saying there, yeah. Deshaun Watson, it's one of the biggest offseason needs for the Cleveland Browns, and this offseason should be a lot more normal for him. Last year, there was all the suspension hanging over him in and out of the courts, and this season, from a pure football sense, he can just concentrate on getting better, understanding the team and understanding things and getting on the same page. One player who he never really seemed to get on the same page with was David Njoku. How do you feel about Njoku heading into 2023?
I think that tight end as a position, I'm either tight end early or not at all. And I just think that Njoku doesn't really do enough for me to be super excited at the cost that takes to acquire him, whether that be in Dynasty or a best ball redraft format.
Okay, and then just if the Browns were going to add another running back in the space of Kareem Hunt, is there anybody you can think of that you'd like who wouldn't completely butcher Nick Chubb's value, or is anyone that stands out?
My sneaky guy it's a guy already on the roster. It's Jerome Ford. They've drafted him this last year. He's basically done nothing. You can probably pick him up off some waiver wires in dynasty leagues. But I think if the Browns, we talked about the resources they spent on Deshaun Watson, they've not got loads of resources left. So if Dearness Johnson's gone, if Kareem Hunt's gone, Jerome Ford sat there, he could be a very nice 1-2 punch with Nick Chubb next year.